Good morning and welcome to the London Food Network podcast, powered by Embrace AI Consultancy. I'm your host, Sebastian Candelon, founder of the Fresh Fish Shop and Embrace AI Consultancy, where we help food businesses and hospitality brands scale smarter with automation and AI. This podcast is about the people shaping the future of food, the innovators, the makers, and the leaders driving real change behind the scenes. Today I'm joined by Ryan Panchoo, founder of Borough 22 Doughnuts. So yes, welcome to the podcast, Ryan. I hope I got most of that right.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So how did Borough 22 come to life, and what inspired you to start making gluten-free donuts in the first place?
Yeah, so it's all started a number of years ago now. I've got two children, a son and a daughter, 4 years apart. And from a very young age, I discovered that they had intolerances. Dairy was the main one, gluten was the second one. And then invariably, as a parent, taking them out with other parents, with other small kids, there'd always be an element of food. Food is, imperative to all our lives, doesn't it? It's cultural, it invokes emotions. Yeah. It's like what we gather around, communities gather around, and families gather around. So invariably, when you took them out, they're all excited. And then as soon as the food's brought out, then their faces drop because they can't eat any of it because of their intolerance.
Awful.
So they're like their own little packed lunchbox that they have.
Wow, yeah.
And, immediately it isolates them from everybody in the room, and they can't enjoy the same food that looks great that they see their friends eating. So that used to really break my heart to see that. So I just thought, out of frustration, why is nobody doing anything about it? And why does the option have to be so bland and so boring and so bad? So I just said, I'm going to try and make something for you guys. Something that first of all is going to be safe. Secondly, is not going to look boring. It's going to look, visually appealing. So to try and combat that feeling of isolation, all your friends are going to want it. They're going to gravitate towards it. And then the real difficult one, the third element was, when they eat it, when they finally put that thing in their mouth, they're not going to be disappointed. It has to be as good as, if not better than, what you would pay at a high-end bakery. So those were the three points that have driven the business forward and driven my mission forward at that time for my children. And it didn't happen straight away. It took a long time to develop recipes. And kids are brutally honest, especially when they're
right. The best judges, right?
So instantly, this is when I hadn't nailed it. But I came up with donuts. They were baked donuts at the time. My knowledge of baking was limited. My knowledge of food preparation was limited. I wasn't a chef. That's not my background.
Oh, really? I thought you were actually. So what was your background before?
So background before was I was in project management. So I worked for, I'm a bricklayer by trade.
Really? No way.
Yeah. So
no way. That's awesome, man. That's what a great entry point into the food game. That must be
absolutely
a fun transition, laying bricks to laying bloody
donuts
layers on a bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So started out as a bricklayer and then went into project management. So it wasn't anything to do with it's property project management, nothing to do with baking whatsoever, but just self-taught. I like baking. I like the science of it. I like the structure of it as well, as opposed to cooking. Liked cooking, but baking gave me that safe space because everything was so precise and so measured. So if you followed it, then you'd get good results. It doesn't actually work like that in real life.
Right.
There's other elements that creep into it. But so just decided to sort of attempt to make these recipes. So made this baked donut that everybody seemed to like at the time, my friends and family, outside of, my children. And then it got to a stage where it's expensive to make. They were young, they could only eat so many. So if I made a batch of 12, they could only eat maybe 2 or 3. And then the rest would spoil and the ingredients were expensive. And it's I can't keep doing this. The ingredients were hard to come by. You can just go to your local supermarket and have an aisle of free from like you do now. You'd have to go to these weird and wonderful websites. It's I could continue making it, but if I did that, I'd have to sell it because it's too expensive and it's too time consuming. And the recipes were too hard to make to keep doing it the way that I was doing it. I was like, no, I either sell it or stop making it. And I decided to take a chance and offer it out to the world.
How did you get it? So what was you say so lightly as if it was just just as if, man, that must have been tough.
Well,
where do you go first of all to get those first sales, and how did that work?
It was the early ages of Instagram. I think Instagram was probably like TikTok is right now at that stage. So all the kids have adopted it, and I was learning how it worked. Fortunately, the donuts were photogenic. So went on Instagram, posted about it. Didn't really know about tagging people in and that kind of thing. And then the other thing I did was went on Facebook, just joined groups like celiac groups. I got told off
Right
by the
there.
admins for posting.
Oh, really?
Like people's interest, yeah. And then actually the big change came really quickly. Somebody posted or tagged me on Instagram's food page. So sorry, Selfridges food page. So Selfridges food tagged me on that page and said, you need to get this guy's donuts into your store. And they were like, yeah, we're always looking for new suppliers. And then that led to an email, a DM, an email. And before I knew it, I was sitting in front of the buyer for Selfridges,
Wow.
explaining how how we were going to do this. And it took
No way.
a
And you
little
were
bit.
still working your project management job at the
Yeah,
time as
still
well?
working. I
Oh,
worked part
wow.
time. So the children are small, so I reduced to 4 days a week. So I'd spend a day with the kids. So I worked part time anyway. But yeah, still kept up that job for a good 2 years,
Wow.
hustling, and managed to get a model into Selfridges whereby worked out you could freeze the baked donuts. It just meant I could do one delivery a week. They would freeze it. So they'd order loads, loads at the time. They would freeze it and just take them off. So it meant they were happy because they were
No
not
way. I
a
need
lot
to
of
try.
time.
I've not tried the donuts, Ryan. But
Yeah.
what? So you can freeze them and
Yeah,
then
the baked
defrost them.
ones that we were doing, yeah, you could freeze. You can freeze the fried ones that I've developed now. You need to sort of regenerate them, but the baked ones are just like a cake. So it worked for Selfridges. It meant they didn't have any wastage, or it really reduced their wastage, and they could just cool off the donuts as and when they needed to,
Wow.
and then place orders like every.
And you can't tell that they've been frozen before.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
And no prep at all. So you freeze them as they are, or do you have to still dust them or like?
No, you freeze them as they are.
Really? Wow, man, that's incredible. I mean, for the food industry, for anyone that knows about food, right, and getting those
Yeah,
to market,
for most
that's
people,
a huge,
exactly. Yeah,
huge,
if you can
like,
do that, then it
wow,
really opens up your opportunities.
big time.
So yeah, that's sort of how it started. And really, once we were in Selfridges, it's like a big marketing pool. So we got local cafes, countries, coffee shops that I was delivering to, all with this baked donut. But really, in my heart of heart, I knew that a baked donut was not a proper donut that you would get, say, at a seaside or from those vendors at amusement parks.
Yeah.
You wanted to try and get that, and I did. I cracked the recipe. It took about 9 years in total to crack the recipe.
No way, man. That's ridiculous. What?
Yeah,
9 years?
it was what I was chasing. This product that was as good as, if not
That's
better
crazy.
than.
That's 2 American presidencies to develop that.
Yeah. That's it, exactly. Yeah.
That's Trump times 2. Jeez. Yeah. Wow, man. That's an incredible amount of dedication and patience, really, because it must have been a lot of trial and error. It must have been quite frustrating to get to that perfect recipe. Or maybe you're just a bit of a control freak, and that's why. Maybe it worked after year 1, but you were just too like, no, it needs to be like this.
No, it was frustrating. Always trying to develop it, and as I started, that journey, baked donuts, my knowledge of gluten-free ingredients, recipes, it grew and expanded, and I'd have these ideas. Maybe this would work, and it wouldn't. And then, 8 years in, I got the beginnings of what is the donut that is selling now in Selfridges and all over, and people go crazy for. And then had to develop it over a year. But it's like I kind of knew that I could do it. I knew that I could get this recipe, and yeah, it's just so nice to see how well it's been received. And it was difficult. It was really, really difficult to sort of nail it. But like you say, like perseverance, also economic climate, like we've just come out of COVID, our orders were really slowing down, and it's just like, I may even have to fold the business because I don't think it's going to survive now. And it would just be a casualty of COVID. And it's just, actually gave me time to think and reflect and sort of put some things into play. And then that's when that light bulb moment happened, and the rest is history, as they say.
What was the light bulb moment? What changed?
I'd created this donut, this fried donut. It's made with yeast. It's a dough, first of all, that I could work with, not a batter. So I wasn't piping it into molds. It was a dough that I could shape, that I could roll, that rose, and that when you put it in hot oil at a certain temperature, it made this amazing donut that you could pull apart. And for, if you've removed the gluten or the glue out of a bread product, it's very hard to get that texture, that recipe. But yeah, managed to do it. And that was like, okay, I'm onto something here. And just developed it, kept showing it on social media to the point where people, like all our followers, are getting upset. I stopped showing it and actually sell it, like put it out into the world.
Again, let's just rewind a little bit, because I guess to most people, I mean, I don't bake because I'm rubbish at it, I must admit. I'm the complete opposite to you. I love cooking because I love to just go bang. And that's it. Job done. Baking, I've never mastered. But for those people that don't know much either, like I don't, I mean, gluten, right? I don't think people realize that gluten is essentially the glue that holds it together, right? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah.
that's what basically makes the bread when it rises to kind of
Yeah,
keep
you
that
get that stretch
consistency and
and that
texture.
pull,
So,
and there's little
so
pockets of it.
yeah, because you make it sound like it's such a big project, but that's why it's a project, to try and find a gluten-free way
Yeah.
to create the same effects as what you would have with gluten.
Yeah, exactly. And you're changing the whole tradition of baking. So people have been baking for years. You've got all these wonderful, you look at the French, how they developed their culinary skills, and with the patisserie and the viennoiserie and all that stuff. It's all based on traditional methods using traditional ingredients. And when you're asked to remove a key element of that ingredient, it's just like, where do you go from here? Is it even possible?
Yeah. Well, it's like building bricklaying without the bloody cement, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's a real challenge. And I think people recognize that definitely within the industry, amongst people that I would call my peers now. They recognize the difficulty and the challenge, and just how good the product is as well. So it did get really good feedback from people that I followed, people that I respect within the industry, like the baking industries in particular, pastry chefs. So it's been really good to have that kind of feedback.
I'm sure people must be inspired, right? Because gluten is such a hot topic, isn't it? Like everyone's gluten intolerant all of a sudden. I mean, most of the time it's not. It's almost like a choice, It's like people like to label themselves as these things and don't necessarily suffer it. But regardless of that, the industry's had to really adapt quite a lot to gluten-free products. And to be able to offer something, like you say, that still has the taste, the texture, that competes even gluten-containing products, then that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an autoimmune disease. If you're celiac, it's actually an autoimmune disease. So they're still trying to work out. It's a genetic disorder, or this disease that can lie dormant within you, and it just gets activated. So, in this country, the statistics are, only 30% of people who have this disorder realize that they have it. And most people don't get tested, because to get tested, you have to exclude gluten and then reintroduce it back into your diet. And it's like, there's no point. I know how my body reacts. So there's those elements. And yeah, some people cut it out of their life. I know a lot of athletes do, because they find it improves their game. And a lot of people are discovering that they're intolerant, or they're even, celiac, which is, they have this disease. So yeah, it's definitely, I think it's not a hot topic. I think people are just becoming more aware of it. The heightened awareness around celiac disease and gluten intolerance is what's causing people to really look into their diet, and, gut health, well-being, all that kind of stuff. It all feeds into it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I was talking to you before the podcast. I mean, I certainly make much more informed decisions now about what I choose to eat, because I know the effect it has on me. And I think that's a nice thing to be able to do that, because, oftentimes we don't think about these things, right? We just kind of stuff any old thing in our mouth and then wonder why we feel a certain way. So, obviously you've had these kind of like huge challenges along the way, particularly with COVID, trying to develop recipes, trying to take away things that bind, and finding alternatives. And of course, the supply chain must be quite difficult as well to, A, produce this stuff at scale, and B, get the logistics out to distribute it in the first place. So what's your current setup today? And how does that work?
So we have our own kitchen now. So we were in like a dark kitchen, and we shared it with 36 other businesses. So we all had our own separate kitchen, separate entrance, but we outgrew that pretty quickly. We're in our own kitchen space, which we're actually looking to expand as well. And yeah, you've got the orders that get made every day for Selfridges. So that goes off to Selfridges. We're London-based. We're based in South East London, in a place called Brockley, which is incidentally where I grew up.
Nice
so
area, man. Nice area.
Yeah, really nice area. I really like it there. So everything gets shipped out to Selfridges. In the morning, we sometimes have a second delivery, on our busier days or busier seasons, which we're certainly coming into now. We also do e-commerce as well, which gets made in the kitchen, say today, picked up by a courier and then delivered overnight to wherever its destination is across the UK mainland. Northern Ireland we cover as well. So we're sending these things out all over the place, these boxes of donuts, which is great. And then we also do like private orders, corporate orders. So it could be people ordering in for their office, which a lot of people are doing now because it's Black History Month, and we are definitely represent ourselves as a black-owned business. We're not shy about saying
Nice.
that. And then we have other events where they may book our donut cart, for example, it's a little Piaggio, like a little tuk-tuk, to go to an event. We done a film production last month. It was like a treat from the main star of the film, the actress. They brought in the donuts for all the crew, which was
Nice.
really nice.
That's cool.
We've got donut walks that we do as well, which are really popular within offices. So yeah, that's sort of how we managing that sort of our main revenue streams. We've also used like third parties such as Deliveroo and Dine, Just Eat for Business, Feeder. So we get orders through them as well, but they're mainly corporate orders. And that's sort of the avenues of sale that we have set up at the moment. And then, yeah, just it's just interesting to see how we've gone from, well, I've gone from supermarkets, popping down to my local Sainsbury's or Tesco's and buying 1 kilo bags of flour to, you know, buying it direct from the manufacturer in sacks. And now we're onto like pallets of stuff from distributors who stock these ingredients. It's just interesting to see how the business has grown.
Well, it's certainly grown. Well, I mean, that's big, big milestones you've reached there. And
Yeah, it is. It
you know,
is.
you're stocked in kind of big retailers now, and you've got all this kind of business that you've created, and obviously a loyal following. What's been your proudest moment, or kind of biggest breakthrough so far?
I think the proudest moment is just the feedback that we get from customers. So there's one, I remember one particular moment, and there's been others since then, but this one sticks in my mind. And this is before we even had like the fried donut, actually. This was a baked donut. And I was doing sampling in Selfridges in Trafford Centre in Manchester. And this lady came up, she had headphones on, and I was just offering people these donuts. I wasn't telling them that they were gluten-free or vegan or plant-based, because I found that would get people to try. If I told them that, then they'd be like, oh, no, thanks, because of the stigma around those types
Wow,
of.
funny, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, really interesting. So I offered it to her, and she said, oh, no, I'm vegan. I was like, oh, they're vegan. They're okay. You can have them. And she's like, what? And she's like, yeah. And she had headphones in. She took a headphone out and she goes, oh, but I'm gluten-free as well. And I was
Wow.
like, I'm not kidding you, but they're certified gluten-free. And I explained like the testing that we did. And she started to cry.
No way.
I've had a donut in such a long time. And, you know,
Wow.
I've had stories like that where people have left me like tearful messages, or, you know, they said, I haven't had a donut for so long, or it reminds me of something my grandmother used to make. And the thing with donuts as well, like every culture, it's one of those things, I like to know where it first started actually, but it's just permeated the whole world. So every culture will have like a version of a donut, some kind of dough that's deep fried. Like in the Caribbean, we have like fried dumplings and festivals.
Oh, okay.
I know in Nigeria, they have puff puff. In Ghana, they have bofrot. In Greece, I think, or Cypriot, in Cyprus, they have lokmades. They have something similar in Brazil. So every beignets in Italy, France,
Spain, you've got the churros as well, I guess, which is kind of
churros as
the
well. Yeah,
same
exactly.
thing,
So
right?
they've all got like a version. And so many people have said, this reminds me of what I used to be able to have, you know, back when I could eat gluten, for example. So that kind of stuff is like really, that's magic for me. And
Nice, man.
that's the reason I started the business. Obviously, you need to generate money as a business, but it's never been about capitalizing. It's been about actually getting a decent product out to these people that are often excluded, often made to feel like they're like othered, or the poor cousins, and just elevating them and putting them at the forefront. That feedback is, I think, like any chef, anybody who's involved in food, the best compliment you could give them is an empty plate after their meal, right? Completely clean.
Oh, yeah,
You
man.
don't even have to say anything. If you give it back to them, they know that you enjoyed that meal. And to get that kind of feedback from people is like the biggest driver, the biggest compliment. And then in terms of the business, I just think getting our concession within Selfridges was just amazing. There was a lot of skepticism around it as to whether it would work. But I was determined. I knew the queues that we had at events that we would do, and just a chance for us to go in there and to be, you know, one of the top 10 sellers within the food hall. And we're only selling one product. It's a grab and go product. You know, we're not preparing meals for people. We're not preparing food for people where you can inflate the costs because of the, you know, what you're offering them. It's just a one small cost item, and we're consistently been within the top 10 sales in Selfridges since we've been there. So to me, it just proves that the concept works. That this type of food is not just the niche food. We deserve our place. It's carte blanche standard within that food hall. We deserve to be there. And it's a food that can be enjoyed by anyone. It's not just, you don't have to be vegan.
Yeah, right.
You have to
Absolutely.
be gluten-free to enjoy it. You haven't got allergies, you're going to eat it. And like 40% of our customers are not, they haven't got any allergies, but you're going to eat it and still be amazed and still say this is like the best donut you've ever had. So that is a real, it's one of the pillars that I set out when I started the business. So that's a real good feeling to be able to say that we're nailing that.
I mean, I must admit that these are the kind of stories that, I find quite consistent in people in the food and drink industry, is this kind of like ultimate goal, because I often think like anyone that goes into the food world to make money is not going to do well. If money is what drives you, you're going to struggle unless you have a lot of it, because to kind of create or even launch a successful food business, your ambition and your drive has to be way beyond the financial reward, because the financial reward is something that may happen. But in order to get to that point, you're going to go through quite a significant amount of grit, really, determination. Yeah. You've got to be dynamic. You've got to, the amount of skills you need or develop in order to make something a success is quite extraordinary. And, that kind of leads me to the next question. Of course, to get to where you are, right, you must have had some pretty kind of like, what the hell am I doing moments, or like questioning your life choice moments. You're still here. So tell us about one of these moments where you just thought, what the fuck am I doing? And what did you do? And how did you get out of it? And what's kind of pushed you on and got you to where you are now?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. There's been many times where I've been like, oh, that's it. I'm finished. And I think I spoke about it before. Probably the main one was at the end of COVID. Like, went into COVID, the business was doing okay. I could pay my bills, save a little bit, but it's still hard work. I think I employed a couple of people to help me. And I was baking in my property at the time where I lived, so using the kitchen where I lived. And then COVID came and I was like, okay, I'm going to get a bit of a break now. And I was going to be ordering donuts. Everything's locked down. Let's just see what happens. And it didn't. It went completely the opposite way. And I had so many orders. I think we had like a 2-week waiting list.
Wow. No way. That's crazy. Can you imagine? Wow.
I had to capped how many orders we could produce a day. I was doing mail order 1 day a week and I had to change that to 4 days a week. And then I capped how many orders we would produce a day. And it's not just the making, it's all the admin that comes with it, the labels, boxes, sticking the labels on boxes, all of that kind of stuff. And then, as I said, towards the end of COVID, it just petered out. So we were going from, 40 orders a day down to like 40 orders a week, and then less than that, maybe 20 orders a week. So I had to let one member of staff go, kept another one on. And it was, I went and found work outside just to subsidize what was going on. And that was really, really tough. I think it was a visit. I visited a coffee producer, and I had a chat with one of the people from marketing there. It just inspired something. It's like, no, actually, let me try and use the time that I've got now. Rather than give this up, let me try and produce, what I've always wanted to produce. Let me really sit down and think about it, and try and put something together and see if I can come up with this recipe. It's that desire to, I don't know, maybe an element of it is people pleasing. And I think, if you are in the food industry, you are going to be a people pleaser to a degree.
Well, I think if you want to be successful in it, then it's got to be, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, you're trying to sell a product that's going to be enjoyed by other people, isn't it? It's not. Doesn't really matter what you think as much. If no one buys it, you're not going to have a business to.
No, exactly. So it was just like the determination to actually, no, I'm gonna produce what I set out to do in the beginning. I had a product that was okay, but I didn't want it to just be okay. I wanted it to be exceptional. And just sat down to try and really figure it out. And I remember it so vividly, like when it happens. It was May 1st that I made it on April 30th, and then May 1st, I didn't touch it until I left it overnight. I was like, I'm not touching this now. I can't. It was late. The idea came late in the evening. I finished making it about 1 o'clock on May 1st, and then I just went to bed. I woke up in the morning and very, very carefully set up the camera and everything, and very carefully tried to pull it open to see if it had worked, and it did. I'm still worlds apart to what we produce now, but it was phenomenal.
Breakthrough.
Yeah, a breakthrough moment. And the rest of the journey's been an exciting one. Difficult at times, like running a small business in London is difficult. Food business.
Well, anyway, this is this is another part of this, because you've gone from bricklayer to project manager, boom, down to up to making you know, an incredible product that's kind of like created a whole new business career and life really for you. So how have you, because that's often the biggest challenges for businesses, right? Is to go from this kind of idea and then learning along the way as well. Because like you say, it's not just the food, and it's often everything, you know, the packaging, the logistics, staffing, recruitment,
It's,
you know,
it's
all the red tape with EHOs, you know, then you need good food safety testing, the right equipment, the right tools. I
just the
mean, it's like, and
um,
all of a sudden you're like, shit, like I just wanted to make this, but of course you've got to either recruit to do the other things, or you've got to learn the other things and recruit to replace the things you were doing. So what's been your path with that? You know, like what do
yeah.
you spend your time on now? What kind of role have you adopted as time has gone on within your business, and why?
Yeah, I guess I'd say I've got like a chief growth officer type role now. So nobody can tell the story better than me. Nobody, like I kind of focus on relationships, and I've always been that way in sort of my working life. Like if I can get on with people, then you get the best out of the relationship. Everybody wins. So that's my element of the business. Anything that needs to be developed, I have someone that looks at recipe development for me or alongside me, and then we test stuff together. And then I've just managed to wrap around me the right kind of people to help me in the places where I struggle. So that's been the best thing I've ever done, and sort of like get out of the way.
What areas? What areas are they? What's your biggest struggles?
So accounting, definitely.
Yeah, right. Who likes accounting? It's mad.
I mean, it's starting to get exciting now because I'm starting to able to look at the accounts and see
Yeah,
almost
right.
matrix-like vision
Yeah,
business can go, which is good. But I've had to bring in people to help with the accounts, and there's been a lot. You know, I've got rid of a lot of people and brought people in, and we're finally at a place now where that's starting to make sense. So I'm thankful for my financial director, and then just people in the bakery, like getting a good bakery manager.
yeah,
It's been key, and helping him to build a team underneath him. Just can run the bakery, listen to instructions, carry out things, and still have that sense of pride. It's not just
yeah, yeah.
just a job. We're not here just to do a job. And I've had people come in that are like that, and unfortunately, we've had to part ways, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it.
Well, it's just got to be done, man. It's your baby, and there's a reason why you've grown it, and that's the quality you're producing and the service that goes behind it, right? And if that
Exactly.
drops, then that's your whole
Yeah,
business gone, isn't it?
exactly. And just trying to expose them to. So when we do festivals, like trying to get some of those people and expose them, or external events, to the reception that you get from people, I think it's so important. These people, you know, you've impacted their lives. It's not just, you're not just making a donut. This is someone who's been impacted by what
Yeah,
you made, and letting them see that, certainly. Videos, making sure we document everything. And then I've had a good mentor. So I took investment for the business back in 2023 in order to get me out of my home into a commercial space.
nice.
But there's 3 people who helped to do that, but one in particular has been like a mentor. And yeah, it's just allowed me to feel a lot of pain, which is necessary in order to grow.
Well, it's growing pains, man. Growing pains. You got to go through it. You got to go through it.
Exactly. It's always, I think it always is, for me, it's boiled down to cash flow. The business generates an
Yeah,
income, definitely. But, you know, we're growing. We're growing really, really fast. Or trying to grow really, really fast.
yeah,
But you're limited by the amount of cash you have in the business. So it's trying to manage cash flow. That has been a real
yeah.
wrestle I've had, I think, over the past 3 years.
But Ryan, you're not alone, mate. All businesses of all sizes, cash flow is everyone's.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
I think so.
it's just the way it is. Particularly when you want to grow as organically as possible. You know,
Yeah,
'cause
yeah,
of course you can keep diluting your business, keep getting money in, and of course money kind of lubricates that engine
yeah,
nicely. But every time you're losing that more and more and more
yeah,
of
exactly.
the soul, if you like, that's gone into it. So
Exactly.
those businesses that want to kind of keep that integrity in terms of ownership, cash flow is unfortunately always going to be
Cash flow is king. Like so many businesses are going under, not because they don't generate money, it's because they run out of it. So
it's
it's a shame. Yeah, I've seen a lot of businesses
yeah.
come and go, man. A lot of people who I looked up to as well just haven't been able.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And again, that's why the grit and the passion for what you do is what at the end of the day lubricates that motor, because when cash isn't there, you
Mm.
need something else to keep the wheels turning.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Motivate everyone, yeah, within the business.
Yeah, exactly. And so what do you spend your most of your time doing? And what are your kind of like, what's a day-to-day look like for you?
So behind the scenes a lot now. I'm in the kitchen recipe developing. I try and do that at least once a week in Selfridges as well, because I'm the face of the business. That's important to me. And people want to meet me. They want to thank me. They want to tell me their stories, and I embrace all of that. It's like energizing for me to be exposed to that. So I try and get into Selfridges as much as possible. And then it's the management of where the business is going. Like, you know, who we're working with, any collaborations that we're coming up with, just making sure everything's organized and we've got a plan for, you know, the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And then, just managing any new opportunities that come our way, really. Just trying to make sure that everything runs smoothly. Everyone's got a good line of communication. Everybody's included. And so we can represent the business in the very best way possible, which is good. And then there's a lot of opportunities now as well for like different events. People want to hear the story. They want to find out about us as well. So things like the podcast that I'm doing with you, Sebastian, that seems to be happening more now as well. And just events that we're invited to, spaces that we're invited to. It's nice. It's nice to be involved.
And so just looking ahead now, I guess, what is your kind of North Star? What's your next 6 to 12 months look like? What is it? What's the next stage?
Just more of the same. It would be really nice to get another concession.
Okay.
Selfridges, obviously, they have Birmingham and Manchester. We used to sell to them wholesale, but I would like to have a concession in those two places. So just continuing to knuckle down in London, making sure that we do well, we represent ourselves well within Selfridges Food Hall London. And then that invariably will open up an opportunity. It's not as easy as that. Obviously, the food hall is occupied. So in order for us to go in, they have to find a space for us.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they have to lose someone. But I think there's a lot of change happening within Selfridges at the moment. So just trying to keep abreast of that and make sure that we, you know, there's an opportunity there. We're prepared to take it. So just making sure that the business runs smoothly as possible. So if we do need to replicate it, we can, based on the success of how it's gone in London. And then just looking for more spaces that we can take in London, really.
Well, you yourselves or wholesaling it to existing stores or retail stores?
The dark kitchen model. It's better for us because we can retain most of the sales, most of the profits. And it's just amplifying Deliveroo. Like, we do fairly well on Deliveroo. We've piqued their interest, and it's such an easy proposition. We don't need a working kitchen. We can still utilize our kitchen in London and ship out to all these different places. But then, you know, you get the catchment area there.
Are you in Zap?
No, we're not in Zap yet, but opportunities like that, for example.
Yeah, I mean, off the podcast, I'll make some introductions because we're with Zap.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good channel.
Yeah. We have spoken to them before. But
yeah,
we weren't quite ready.
I'm going to make some introductions for you, Ryan, for sure, because there's a few people we supply that I think would. Yeah, but I don't know if you do that. Do you package for other retailers? You know, can you sell to other stores?
We can.
Would you do that?
We can do, but like with our donuts, the shelf life, it's a 1-day shelf life. So it limits, It has to be super fast. That's why.
But you can't sell it as a frozen product wholesale that they, like you did with Selfridges? Or is it because now that you fry them rather than bake them?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Gotcha. Interesting. God, I thought my products had a short shelf life in my seafood business. One day. Wow.
Yeah, one day. It's nice. It's fun. I'd love to make it last, 3-4 days even.
Yeah.
It would make my life so much easier.
Well, it's something to develop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The next kind of challenge in the kitchen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm well aware, Ryan, that you've got a train to catch, so I don't want to take too much of your time and have you rushing around. But it's been really inspiring to hear your story from experimenting in your kitchen to building one of London's most loved inclusive bakery brands. What really stands out is how much attention and care you put into every part of your business. But as with so many creative businesses, the level of involvement can sometimes be tough to scale without burning out. That's the problem we all face, is the right amount of grit without kind of affecting your life, and then you start questioning why you're doing it. So you seem to be championing that quite well. Yeah, that's it really. I wanted to say thank you for coming on. For all you listeners out there, if you can click and follow us, that'd be great. And of course, actually, Ryan, I'll let you finish off with where people can reach you on any social channels. Plug yourself in as much as you can right now, and just tell people where they can find you.
Thank you very much. As I say, we're based in Brockley, South East London. And if you are in the catchment area, get on Deliveroo and order. You'll get super fresh donuts that way. Also, Selfridges Food Hall in central London, 400 Oxford Street. If you enter from Orchard Street. Use the middle entrance to the food hall on Orchard Street. You will be right near our stand rather than having to find us through Selfridges.
That's a good tip.
And then on socials, we are at Borough 22 Doughnut. So Borough, spelt the London Borough way, Borough 22, and Doughnut spelt the English way, Dough. And
Important to know.
Donuts. And then you can follow us or head over to our website if you're interested in looking at what we do over at Borough 20.
Thanks so much for your time, Ryan. I really appreciate it. And that's it for now. So Sebastian Candelon here from the London Food Network, proudly sponsored by Embrace AI. We'll see you on the next one.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sebastian.